What's up, everybody? I'm Phil, co-host here. With me is Sam.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Coming back to Kentucky Ballistics. We did one video from them that, from Scott. I think it's his channel. And we were checking out Eddie Hall and Scott in that last one.
The world's strongest man.
Versus the world's strongest recoil. And there was a lot of recoil on some of those guns. It was insane.
Yeah.
But you guys were saying in the commentary, in the comments down below on that video, you guys were saying we should check out this one where his 50 cal exploded, I believe, from what you guys were saying in the comments, as he was shooting it or something around that.
That's scary
idea. So I really enjoyed that last video.
Me too.
Really
That was
entertaining.
really cool.
Learned some stuff. Got to see some cool video shots in that. And I wanted to come back to another video from them anyways. And this one seems like it's the one to roll with. So if you got other recommendations you want to leave, you know what to do. Hit the comment section down below. You enjoyed that last one though, right, Sam?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to see all the different guns they were shooting and how like the person who's shooting it's size and strength, right? Because obviously they're comparing it to somebody who had experience versus just being strong in general, and how that changed the experience with shooting the gun. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, but this one, I don't know where we're getting into. It's on your recommendation. So let's check out my 50 cal exploded.
What's up, everybody? My name is Scott, and I'm going to tell you about how my 50 cal exploded and I almost bit the dust about 2 weeks ago. So I know a lot of you are probably wanting me to explain my injuries, and I'm going to do that, but I think it's best we start from the beginning. I know some of you are going to try to skip around in this video. I highly recommend you stay tuned and listen to all of this. But for those who are going to skip around, let me clear something up first. This was not the Barrett that we torture tested, and this was a complete freak accident. There's nothing that I did to have caused this. So April 9th, 2021, we come out here to shoot a fire hydrant with some slap rounds using my Serbu RN50. So we have the Serbu RN50 with the 36-inch long heavy barrel, and we're gonna go ahead and go big or go home and start out with this. This is a 50 BMG slap tracer round. The slap rounds tend to go a little to the right, so I aimed a little to the left, but this one actually hit true to where I was aiming. We hit right here, and you can see that thing is smoking. And then we blew right through the back of this thing. Everything was going pretty smooth. We shot the fire hydrant several times, but the slap rounds were acting a little funny. One of the slap rounds hit like 1.5 feet low and to the right. I say we hit it with one more slap round, but this time aim for the thickest part of the fire hydrant and see what happens.
Wonder if you felt that.
The gun was functioning normally, as it always has. I've been using this gun for a long time now, and I've never had any issues out of it. So before all this happened, we took one last shot, and it was actually really, really cool. The round was stuck out the back of the fire hydrant. This is a 50 BMG silver red tip armor piercing incendiary tracer. So we went through the top of the fire hydrant. Ooh, look at that. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's just stuck out the back. After that, I decided I was gonna take one last shot with a slap round and try to hit the thickest spot on the fire hydrant. So before I loaded my last slap round, I know that there was no barrel obstruction because I literally found the round in the fire hydrant. But this last round that I loaded into my Serbu RN50 was a very, very hot round, and I had no idea. And there's really no way for me to have ever known that this round was as hot as it was. So here you can see me taking the last shell casing out, and now I'm loading in the slap round. I screw the cap on all the way, and the gun closes completely, and everything is functioning as normal. And one thing, and something someone may mention, is maybe I didn't screw the cap on all the way. Well, you can clearly see the cap is screwed on all the way, and this gun actually will not close if the cap is not screwed on all the way. So everything was functioning good on the gun. What I didn't know was the slap round that I put inside it was extra hot, and I had no idea. And there's really no way for me to have ever known. These rounds are extremely rare, and they're very old. They're like $100 a piece. These aren't manufactured anymore, and really there's no way you can really know what's happened to them over time as they've passed hand to hand. I was under the impression that these were genuine military surplus rounds and hadn't been tampered with. So now I'm gonna actually show you what happened.
I have so much anxiety.
It's not graphic. All the graphic stuff happened after the fact, and I'm gonna tell you all about that, but I am gonna show you what happened just so you can see what happened to me that day.
My heart is just like racing. I have so much anxiety. I'm just like waiting for this gun to explode.
Yeah, that's pretty insane though. Like I think what he's referring to there with that one bullet that he picked was like not a legitimate one, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying when he's saying it's hot.
Yeah.
It was that he bought it thinking that it was legit military equipment, but it was
Been
off the
messed
black
around
market.
with, yeah.
And somebody's just trying to turn a dollar, selling these things, like he said, for $100 a piece. And it's crazy. I'm going to, imagine we're going to get to it right now, that just, having that situation play out where you don't have the right equipment from this little piece. You got this giant gun that's got so many working pieces to it, as he was discussing and saying, like, it wasn't the gun, it wasn't me, everything was good, but this one little piece of this component that you have to use is not up to working standards or working condition, and it can create something drastic and disastrous.
Well, yeah, and when he's doing this as frequently as he is, right, it's probably one of those things where like it goes smoothly 99.9% of the time, so he's not thinking too much about it, right? Whereas like me, I go to shoot a gun and I'm like, oh my god, what if this thing like explodes in my hand? What if I like shoot myself? Like, you know what I mean? There's so much more worry surrounding it because you don't do it all the time.
Well, also for him, like, he's shooting guns that are much more rare, right, to be used. Like you said, they don't get used often, but also that, the everyday person going to a range or what they own, they probably don't have that, right?
Yeah.
But he's, the far outlier where, this person selling, the black market goods is, going to think probably themselves, oh, nobody's even going to shoot these things.
Yeah.
What does it matter, right?
Yeah.
And just, circumstances, but... All right, let's get your anxiety a little higher.
Every time they show a clip where like the guns, he's about to shoot the gun, I'm like, oh my god, is it gonna be now?
Military surplus rounds and hadn't been tampered with. So now I'm gonna actually show you what happened. It's not graphic. All the graphic stuff happened after the fact, and I'm gonna tell you all about that, but I am gonna show you what happened just so you can see what happened to me that day.
Oh my goodness. That's insane.
So when I pulled the trigger,
Wow.
the gun exploded almost immediately. So the first thing that went was this cap. And this cap is solid steel, and it is very, very heavy. If you look right here,
Oh my gosh.
the threads are sheared off of this gun completely. I spoke with Mark Serbu, and he said that normal pressures are 55,000 PSI. And for those threads to have sheared off and this cap to have just blown off like that, we're looking at over 85,000 PSI. So the cap blows
insane.
off. It's kind of hard to put these on because of my little nose brace. I'll explain. But
Thank God he was wearing
safety
those.
glasses are on.
Yeah, for real.
And this cap, you can see this little crescent here. This cap hit me right
Wow.
there.
Oh,
I'm not really sure which way, probably more like this, but it struck me in the face. When this cap hit me in the face, it broke my orbital bone in 3 spots, here, here, and here. It also broke my nose and that's why I have this on. I've had to have facial surgery to repair all this. Here's the really bad part though. On this lower, normally there's these two ears that stick up right here. And this is what prevents you from closing the gun when the cap's not on all the way. If the cap is on all the way, it will fit perfectly right here with those ears pushed up against it. When the cap blew off the gun, it came straight back, shearing those ears off the lower. One of these is still at the hospital, and this is the one we found. This one zipped right past my head, went inside my hat, blew a hole through it, and took it off my head what appears 7 to 8 feet. Now the other one
Wow.
is what almost ended me.
Oh my
The other
God.
ear hit me right here in the throat. It proceeded to lacerate my jugular vein
What?
and then punctured a hole in my right lung.
Oh
As
my
for my
God.
hand, my best guess is this is what did it. In the video, you can see that the stock almost disappears instantly. I believe it came in a downward motion and hit my finger. You have your natural bend in your index finger. Well, this bone right here looked like a V. So my finger looked like a big W. So back to the lacerated jugular. I've now been hit in the throat, and I'm not really sure what happened because when this cap hit me in the face, I went blind in my right eye instantly. I have vision coming back now, and they say my eye should make a full recovery. But in that moment, I went completely blind in this eye, and it was like I had been punched. And I went backwards, and I landed on all fours. A lot of you wonder who is behind the camera in my videos. This is my dad. His name is also Scott.
Wow.
If he had not been out here with me, that would have been it for me. He come running up and he let me know of my injuries because I was still in a daze. I've just been punched in the face by a big metal cap. And he let me know real quick that there was a hole in my neck and I was losing a lot of blood really fast.
Wow.
My dad shoved his thumb into my neck and said, "Put your thumb there." Now that I'm aware of what's going on, I took my left thumb, I took my shirt, wrapped it in my shirt, and I shoved it as far into my neck as possible. I was not aware that my jugular was lacerated, but I did know this is really bad. I have a law enforcement background, and I've been trained in injuries and wounds and gunshots and things like that. And I know very well that if you get hit in the neck, it's not good because you can't tourniquet a neck. After I had plugged the hole, I applied extreme pressure, pinched my head down into my hand, and made a run for the truck. So the truck here was right near us. There's a trailer attached. I had to run around the front. I jumped in the passenger seat. Dad jumped in, and we took off. And this all happened in a matter of seconds. I would say under a minute. We were in that truck and just hauling tail into town. Something I forgot to mention, this upper weighs like 25 pounds. And you can see in the video that it just gets thrown off the table. So much pressure came out the back of this upper that it launched it off the table. It's an insane amount of energy that was thrown into my body. So now,
Insane. This guy Scott is lucky to be alive. I mean, some of those things that just, the part that took his hat off, for example, like that obviously could have went a lot worse. Then,
Well, thank God he's also wearing those glasses, or that would have taken out his eyeball.
Yeah, well, it probably would have went right through his head, I would imagine, without the amount of force that he's been talking about here and just the extreme power that the gun had in reverse. And then, obviously the jugular is making you squirm over there.
I feel like actually nauseous and fidgeting that.
Well, I mean, it's just insane, though, that,
it's also good that he's trained on, he's obviously trained on this, but the gunshot wounds and stuff like that, because he knew what to do, right? I mean,
Well,
my main takeaway of this is always have somebody videotaping your dangerous activities. Don't ever use a tripod, okay?
Well, you did highlight an important point is that he's, doing these videos and stuff, but he's at least taking the safety precautions, which a lot of people would probably be like, oh, I'm an expert. I don't need to do that.
Yes.
The fact that somebody was there with him while he was doing this, and, luckily it was his dad. Who else, would you want there? Then obviously somebody that's going to take care of you as well as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And combined with his training, I think obviously you heard him, it could have saved his life. I don't know, maybe he'll elaborate on it, but the fact that he was able to, put pressure on it in the right way and just maybe make these small adjustments on the way to getting treatment might have saved his life.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, his training might have allowed him to stay calm because he's more familiar and knows that, he doesn't want to allow his adrenaline and, panic and,
Yeah.
you go into shock or anything like that. I mean, that could have made things worse. I don't know how it played out, but it sounds like, he's, like I said, very, very lucky to be who he is and the circumstances he was, how they played out. I mean, he was unlucky that it happened to begin with, but, he's lucky to be, able to make this video, and, sounds like all his injuries are going to be able to heal and, come back to 100%. So,
Yeah, I was going to say, just to your point of what you were just saying, is that his law enforcement experience probably has helped him be able to handle traumatic situations and think on his feet, right? Like most people would freeze up and they probably would start I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What do I do first? Where do I, but he just said in under a minute they were in the truck and on their way. So it's you almost switch off your emotional brain and you just execute because you've been trained through those situations so many times. So obviously that worked in his favor.
It's an insane amount of energy that was thrown into my body. So now we're driving very fast into town. I am applying constant pressure to my throat and I'm breathing very slowly, trying to control my heart rate, because the faster your heart rate, the faster you're going to bleed. My dad's driving, so I thought it would be nice of me to call the ambulance. My dad didn't agree with this, but I wanted to do it myself because I wanted to try and stay awake. I needed to be doing something to keep myself conscious. If you have an iPhone, there's this nifty little feature on the side here, and if you hit that button one too many times, it'll call 911. This can be kind of annoying when you're trying to shut off your alarm in the morning, but when there's a lot of bodily fluids on your phone and you can't open it, it comes in really handy. I got on the phone with 911 and I let them know what had happened and that we were coming into town and they were gonna send an ambulance to meet us halfway. There were several times where I thought I was gonna pass out. And I knew if I passed out that was gonna be it, because my dad's driving. If I pass out, who's gonna keep applying pressure to my neck to keep me from bleeding out? Times like this, you really need something to focus on, and I focused on my kids. I had their faces in my brain and I just focused on them and I fought as hard as I could.
Insane.
I stayed conscious the entire time. We met the ambulance halfway.
That's insane.
They got me loaded up and we took off towards the hospital. And like I said, I know that I was in a bad spot, and I don't know if you know this, but if your jugular is completely severed, you have 30 seconds. I knew that being hit in the throat, I may not have much time, but the closer we got to the hospital, the more my confidence built, and I thought, hey, maybe I'm gonna be all right. When I was in the ambulance, I asked them to cut my shirt off because I was having trouble breathing and I thought maybe I'd been hit in the chest as well. They cut my shirt off, there wasn't anything there, but when I got to the hospital, they x-rayed me and they said my right lung had collapsed because it had filled with blood, and that was from this little guy here puncturing my lung as well. So from there, they had to intubate me while I was wide awake, and I tell you, that is not fun. Take this long metal rod with a point on it, and they stick it through your rib cage, and it wasn't fun. After that, I was feeling a little better. I could breathe a little better, and then they wanted me to take my thumb out of my neck, and I was like, we're not taking my thumb out of my neck. You just wrap it up with some tape and stay there. But they told me I had to take my thumb out of my neck, so they had a bunch of gauze and packing, and as soon as I pulled it out, they packed my throat. When I pulled my thumb out, that's when I saw my finger, and they said that I audibly said, oh, that's not good, because my finger looked like a big W. They informed me after that they were gonna have to life flight me to Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. Very, very good hospital with very, very good doctors. Obviously, I'm here making this video. Big shout out to Vanderbilt Hospital. You guys are the best. So now they're about to knock me out. And at this moment, I realize that this may be the last time that I see my wife or see my dad, because once they knock you out, you know, that's it. Either they're gonna fix you or you're not waking up. My wife had arrived. I called her in there, I held her hand, and we had words. And then I called my dad in to pray. And after that, I remember waking up in Vanderbilt Hospital, hooked up to every machine possible. I'm gonna throw some pictures in here. So they did a number on me. So you can see this cut here, and this actually goes all the way down to right here.
My God.
To repair my jugular and my lung, they had to open up my chest completely. They cut me completely open, just like open heart surgery. They told me a guy my size should hold 6 to 8 units of blood, and total, from all the blood I lost from the initial injury and the surgeries, they had to give me 5 units. There was also a chance that I could have had a stroke. To repair your jugular.
Insane. Like, you just do not think about all the ripple effects of like something like this, how, you know, fragile the body is, and like you just said, the blood loss, and the fact that he had to stay awake on his way to the hospital, because then, like he was saying, you know, he probably would have bled out, and just, you know, all the work that needs to go into reconstructing his body, just like he said, you know, basically had to have open heart surgery essentially. You know, just from this one split second thing that went wrong, and you know, it almost seems like everything had to go right, you know, for him to make it out the other side here. And really, you know, just an impactful story overall. Just, you know, you hear him talking about his kids. You know, this is the first time I've heard he's had his kid, and, you know, he's married and stuff. And then, you know, you see this, oh, his 50 cal explode, and it's really cool. You think like, oh, we're going to watch this video here. But then he starts talking about getting into the story, and the reality sets in. That,
scary,
you know,
man.
how scary it is. And, you know, this is a real person that, you know, almost lost their life. And it's just, you know, thank goodness it didn't, you know, turn out on the negative side of things, but really just puts into perspective how fragile life and the human body can be.
Yeah, and like kudos to his dad for being able to like stay calm and do what he needed to do. Like, imagine you are the one responsible for like getting him to the hospital, or like making sure that, you know, like you have somebody bleeding out beside you and you have to stay focused on like your task, right? Which is also probably, he was probably really scared.
Yeah, and kudos to him though. I mean, like, for those little thoughts, you know, I need to be the one that calls the ambulance to stay awake, you know, like, to be thinking about that really, really shows that, you know, his head, maybe from the experience, was in the right spot, because, you know, most people would be panicking and thinking, am I going to die? And this guy's thinking, you know,
I need to call the ambulance.
You know, I should call the ambulance because I need to stay awake. Like, such calm, you know, even the way he's talking about the story, very, very calmly. You know, obviously Scott's a one-of-a-kind kind of person that thankfully, you know, he had the capability, like I said,
I'd
to
be
get
pretty
through this.
nervous to be shooting guns after this, personally.
I guess, yeah. I mean, that would be expected. But, I mean, maybe Scott's perspective is this, you know, was a 1 in a million thing that happened, and it won't happen again. But I guess we'll find out.
There was also a chance that I could have had a stroke. To repair your jugular vein, they have to pinch it off. Well, your jugular vein supplies the oxygenated blood to your brain. So they can only pinch it off for so long. They pinch it off, they repair it, but then after that, when they open it back up, all that blood rushes into your brain, and there's a chance you could have a stroke. Praise God, I did not have a stroke as well. As for my hand and my face, they had to do surgery on that as well. I have pins in my finger to hold it in place. And like I said, they had to repair my orbital bone in 3 spots. As you can see, they cut me here and right here. And they also cut inside my mouth, all the way back here to the front, to be able to get to all of those spots. So I had a breathing tube in, but I still wanted to talk. I wanted to know what had happened to me and what was going to happen. Well, my nurse, Cody, shout out to that guy, best nurse ever, brought me a dry erase board so that I could write and ask questions.
Aw.
I wanted to talk to my wife. Well, he would call her for me, and then I would write out what I wanted to say, and he would say it over the phone for me, and then I could sit there and talk to my wife. Also, I really wanted a mellow yellow. I was craving it so bad. When I was finally unhooked from everything, I remember sitting in my room, and he peeked his head in. He was like, "Can you eat and drink now?" I said, "Yeah." And he handed me a mellow yellow. Coolest nurse ever. So for about 2 days, I had tubes coming out of the front of my chest, one tube coming out of my right side, and one tube coming out from behind my collarbone to drain everything around my lungs.
Insane.
And I had to carry this little vacuum pack with me. They removed those really quick. I'm healing extremely fast. They kicked me out of trauma within a few days. This happened on April 9th, which is a Friday. I went home the following Saturday. There is a lot more to this story when it comes to my injuries and everything that I had to do to overcome them. Long story short, I shouldn't be standing here. I should be 6 foot under, and if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. So I know there's one big question that you're all wondering. What's gonna happen to Kentucky Ballistics, and am I gonna keep making videos? And the answer to that is absolutely. I'm not gonna quit doing what I love because of a freak accident. There's nothing that can keep me from continuing on. I love what I do, and I appreciate every single one of you. I am healing at a Wolverine rate. I am healing so fast that really a lot of people have been kind of confused at how fast I'm healing. That's God, He's healing me quick. And I'm gonna keep making videos, and I cannot wait to get back out here. I have some videos planned, and I think you're gonna like them. It's gonna be some really funny stuff. Also, I know there's gonna be a good bit of you
Just put a
that
thumb
wanna
in it.
support me while I'm healing, and I really, really appreciate that, but I don't wanna do a GoFundMe or anything like that. If you wanna help me out, I want you to get something out of it too. So we got some new shirts. The doctors told me that if it wasn't for this thumb, that I would have died. This thumb saved my life. And my wife came up with this saying, she said, just put a thumb in it. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever. So that's what we're going with. We have just put a thumb in it shirts. I think these are awesome. And if you want to support me, there's a link in the description down below. They're available now. Pick you up a shirt and support Kentucky Ballistics. This is not my normal content and definitely not what you expected me to post this week, but this is something I felt like I needed to let you know. Again, this was a complete freak accident, and there's no way I would have ever known just how hot that round was until it was too late. So like I said, I'm healing really fast, and I'm gonna be back to it as soon as possible. But in the meantime, keep your eyes peeled for some pretty interesting videos I have planned and my update videos. Before I close this video, I just wanna say how much I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for making what I do possible. And I know that the majority of you are gonna be extremely supportive right now, and I really, really appreciate that. Don't forget, if you wanna pick up a shirt, there's a link in the description down below. And as always, my name is Scott. My name is Scott, and you will most definitely see me next time.
And that was a 50 cal exploding and Scott surviving.
Yeah, that was crazy, but it's just so refreshing too to see somebody who is so passionate about something that like something like that they don't even want to think about letting it hold them back. It's motivating in a sense, right? Because I think a lot of people, no matter whether it's an incident like this or just general life, but people are deterred by fear all the time, right? And he was kind of like, no, it's a no-brainer. I'm then gonna do what I love. So it's kind of
he didn't
a refreshing attitude.
Didn't seem to second guess that at all. And I think a lot of, his confidence, maybe his calmness, his belief in doing what he's doing, comes from what he mentioned in the video, which is his faith. He mentioned God a few times there, and clearly he's a strong believer, and that's why he's still present today. But I think it probably played into a role as to why he was able to handle the situation the way he did, because, a big part of faith is, just trusting the process, trusting God is, and if your time is up, your time is up, right? You don't have control over that. So I think that, probably allowed him to just take the situation as it is and hope that it worked out, that he was going to be able to see his wife and his kids again. And it's
Come
just
back and heal out a Wolverine, right?
yeah, exactly. But it just, I think, it's a situation like this. You don't hear him talk like that in his videos normally, right?
Yeah.
But it peers into who he is as a person a little bit more,
Yep.
and what drives him. And like you said, maybe, why he makes the decisions that he does. So I found it really, really interesting to get to know this story and know about him a bit more.
He also seems like a very genuine person.
Yeah, down to earth. And so, glad that he survived. Hopefully he's mended up. Obviously that we haven't gotten into any other videos other than the two. So thanks for recommending this one, guys. It was a great one to check out. And I know you were squirming a little bit, Sam, but
I don't do the best with talk about blood and guts and stuff, but
so I don't think I'll be able to rely on you if you're videotaping and I'm in that situation. Or are you gonna dial in and you're gonna be like, okay,
I don't know what I would do in an actual situation. It's more just about thinking about it makes me feel weird versus being on adrenaline and actually having to deal with it, right?
Yeah. Anyways, I'm just kidding. Hopefully that never happens, because 1 in a million shot that it happens, 1 in a million chance that you survive. We got to experience both of that on this video with the 50 cal exploding, but we'll maybe have to come back to a little bit more in the future from Kentucky Ballistics. Let us know down below if you'd like to see that. Thank you so much for supporting our channel. Make sure you support his channel. Maybe you want to grab one of those t-shirts. I might have to myself. Make sure you stick a thumb in it right now, guys. Hitting that like button. And have a great day. We'll see you on our next video.
Thanks for watching.